All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to another great episode on your favorite political talk show, The Truth with Ben Jokes. Now, Tinubu has stepped into his third year in office from today, and I'm not being a pessimist, but I can assure you that I will return here May 29, 2026 to tell you that Nigeria is worse than what it is today, and you and I will be able to attest to that. Why? Because government is not run on propaganda. Tinubu's ministers were all over the media yesterday, and all they could do was lie about their ministries. No tangible thing to show. Minister of Agric tweeted, and he had to delete his tweet because of the vile comments that followed. You are Minister of Agric, and almost 2 years into your tenure, you are still telling us what you plan to do, not what you have done. What a tragedy. But Nigerians on various platforms spoke loudly against this evil administration, calling out its failure on every side. The voices of criticism, constructive criticism, totally drowned the rumblings of deluded sycophants. And few hours ago, the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, came up with one of the most ridiculous statements I have ever heard in my entire life to defend the $21.5 billion loan Tinubu just applied for at the National Assembly. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to that, Senate President Akpabio began receiving curses and death threats after he gave out one of the most insensitive speeches of Tinubu's 2 years in office event. That speech completely misrepresented the facts on ground, and while some Nigerians genuinely began to question Akpabio's mental state because he sounded like a madman in that speech, others began cursing him and sending death threats. And I remember Akpabio saying on the floor of the Senate a while ago that he was receiving death threats on his phone. And now this, someone needs to call Akpabio to order. This is getting too much. Before I show you details of these top stories and how Nigerians reacted, let me quickly show you this video.
I think it is very important to state that this is 24 months into the government, and so far not so great for Nigerians. I am particularly not very impressed by what the government has done so far. You introduced me as an expert, so let me give an expert view on evaluating governance. Governance, the administration is evaluated based on three major broad criteria, as they were. One is what they met in office. Two is juxtaposing what they promise with what they are doing. And three is how they are doing it. I think it is safe to remind people that because this candidate, Bola Tinubu, now president, promised to improve the life of Nigerians. And in people's mind, a better life means cheaper food, more employment, lower cost of transportation, and lower cost of living. It is safe to say without prejudice, bias, or passion that so far the cost of food has gone up instead of down. The cost of transportation has gone up instead of down. And indeed, the general cost of living measured by our ability to purchase, especially when compared to Forex, mainly the dollar, has gone up instead of down. It is stable, but it is stable in a bad place. Based on all those things, it is easy why Nigerians are not pleased. The government is talking about reforms, but the people are not benefiting from these reforms yet. I acknowledge and appreciate the repayment of the IMF loan. I like the idea of the student loan. I like the idea of the introduction of personal credit. But my problem is that, and I want our viewers to think about it, when you look around you, how many people do you know that have taken student loan? How many people do you know, without going to go and do one big research, that is benefiting from the consumer credit? How many people do we know that tells you food is cheaper than it was before? If we practice a government for the people, then it is what the people say that matter in terms of achievement, not what the government says. And to that extent, the disconnect is real because the efforts of the government are not yielding results that the people desire.
You heard that. Good governance is measured by the quality of life of people, not by whatever anyone is reading from a paper. And it is the people who can decide if their lives are better or not the government. Except you are rolling out prices of food from a paper, don't read anything from paper for me. Except you are rolling out the prices of food, which shows that the government has failed. Transportation cost, light bills, school fees, those are the things I want to hear if you are reading anything out of a paper. And all these things show that Nigerians are worse off today than they were before Tinubu. House rent, number of local governments under Boko Haram control, everything before Tinubu versus now is worse off. How much was our debt before this government came in, and how much is it now? He just asked for another 40 trillion naira 3 days ago, and he has not been able to point at a single thing that he has done with the previous loans he took. What a disaster. Now, let us look at the top stories. First is that shocking announcement from Minister of Finance Wale Edun on the $21 billion loan. And next is that speech from Akpabio that attracted curses and death threats from Nigerians. Let's start by taking that update from Wale Edun. Look at how the papers reported it. Now, I have never read or heard a more empty and meaningless speech or explanation than the one given by the Ministry of Finance to defend this $21.5 billion loan. Look at it. Bola Tinubu's $21.5 billion borrowing request won't increase debt burden. The Ministry of Finance has provided clarification on Bola Tinubu's $21.5 billion borrowing request, saying it would not lead to an automatic debt increase. On May 27, Tinubu wrote to the National Assembly requesting approval for a new external borrowing plan totaling over $21.5 billion. The debt rolling plan is not an automatic green light for increasing the debt burden. It is a strategic framework that guides sustainable and purposeful borrowing. The statement reads, this strategic method enhances Nigeria's ability to implement effective fiscal policies and mobilize development resources. Importantly, it should be noted that the debt rolling plan does not equate to an automatic increase in the nation's debt burden. When they want to steal, this is how they speak. Very unequivocal, very indirect, very ambiguous. What is the meaning of what I just read? Can anybody tell me? How can a human being possibly say to another human being that more borrowing will not increase the debt on ground? It can only be done by the APC government, by the Tinubu government, as a matter of fact. And look at how Nigerians reacted. Let's take some of the tweet reactions. K here says, how do you borrow $21.5 billion and claim it won't increase the debt burden? Nigerians deserve transparency, not gaslighting. And Olamileko here says, Nishori Relaye, he says, it shall not be well with all of you, Tinubu and his cohorts. And Yinka says, here are the real criminals that are looting the country's treasury on a daily basis, both former and present politicians. But here, EFCC classifying Yahoo boys that are supposed to be the least arrested as the major country's problem. How can a country progress or limit crime rates this way? And Ola here says, abeg, make una make am make sense. You won't borrow money, you say money that you owe won't increase. How does it make sense? They have absolutely no respect for the people. They can say anything to us because they misbehave anyhow they want and the people don't ever react. What a shame. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to this, that update, that speech from Godswill Akpabio began making the rounds. Look at how the papers reported it. Akpabio hails Tinubu for improving quality of life in Nigeria in 2 years. Godswill Akpabio has commended Bola Tinubu for restoring the hope of Nigerians for a viable and sustainable nation through transformative and courageous leadership. I commend Tinubu's unwavering commitment to the renewed hope agenda, which is gradually revitalizing our economy, improving the lives of Nigerians, rekindling hope in our people, and building a brighter and prosperous future for our nation, the Senate president said. Mr. Akpabio said Mr. Tinubu's initiatives and reforms, particularly in the areas of economic and fiscal policies, demonstrated his undying dedication to transforming Nigeria. Your drive and obsession to giving every section of the country a sense of belonging has clearly been demonstrated in the creation of development commissions in all the geopolitical zones. This is unprecedented in the annals of our nationhood. The level of infrastructural development as enunciated in the monumental ongoing project across the country, such as the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and the Lagos-Maiduguri, is a testament to your leadership signature and development-conscious pedigree, Mr. Akpabio said. According to Mr. Akpabio, Tinubu's economic reforms are gradually turning Nigeria into the preferred business destination of local and foreign investors, with the naira making a strong rebound. The Senate president also lauded Mr. Tinubu's achievements in the area of security, saying the Nigerian armed forces have intensified the war against terrorists and other criminal elements. No wonder you have received torrents of endorsements to return to office in 2027, just 2 years into your first tenure. These endorsements are certainly not a fluke, but founded on verifiable performance in good governance and delivery on campaign promises and undiluted national consciousness, Mr. Akpabio said. You heard that. Now, if you listen to what I read, you would agree with me when I said that he sounded like a madman in his speech, because he completely misrepresented the facts. He said that Tinubu had done very well in the area of the economy and he has bettered the lives of Nigerians. We know that that is false. Then he said that Tinubu has positioned this country as a preferred destination for local and foreign investors. That is not true. The foreign investors we have in this country are leaving, and we have not even attracted any single one. Total Energies chose Angola over Nigeria to invest there about $6 billion. They said because Angola has a better government than Nigerian government. That was the reason they gave. And then he had the nerves to praise Tinubu in the area of security. This one has to do with people's lives. But this man did not care. He still lied in that area. Look at what is happening in Benue State, Plateau State, Sokoto State, Zamfara, Borno, Maiduguri, even in the southwest where Tinubu is from. Yet Akpabio has the nerves to say that security has improved under Tinubu. What a shame. And then the death threats began coming in for Akpabio. I am BJ here says Akpabio's days are numbered, as well as the corrupt politicians. And when it happens, Nigerians will celebrate the way Abacha's demise was celebrated. We will be here no matter what. And Felix here said, death is no respecter of age, but anyhow it is, I owe this guy a celebration when he finally gets to meet with his ancestors. And Olamilekan followed up. He said, just someday, monkey go enter market and he won't return. Just someday. But Philip took it more lightly. He said, this is how you speak when you have lost connection with reality. Until them start to stone una convoy, una go think say everything na joke. I am telling you, Akpabio is really pushing it. You can't put yourself in a position where you are as hated as the man in Aso Rock. Akpabio and Wike, they need to be very careful with the kind of personality that they are creating for themselves in this administration. They are doing all that they are doing now because they know that Nigerians are a captured people. But you can never say never. You cannot continue maltreating people like this and you feel that things are never going to change. When the people of Abia State said they were ready to remove Ikpeazu, those guys did not think that they were going to do what they did. But election day came and everybody just stuck together. There was no meeting prior to that time. They didn't go anywhere to agree that this is what we are going to do. But that day came and that spirit just took over. And the people stood their grounds and said, no, Alex Otti is the man we have voted in and he must be the one that will be announced. This is how revolution starts. You continue maltreating people like this, saying all manner of things until one day you will just be going home carelessly as if nothing is happening, and boys will surround you and they will stab you to death. Even Shetima has warned of this thing, that politicians must be very careful with the way they are going. I'm not saying that he's a good leader, but he saw it and then he predicted it and said it to others that they should begin doing the right things. But I know they will not listen because they are the APC. They have only come to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And that is why I keep telling Nigerians that for us to have a country that we can be proud of in the near future, we must come together and get rid of the APC. But until then, make I still enter town, make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because of una na I dey here. So don't go away, don't go away.